completely like missed the whole point. The whole point. Never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport, criticize players about what they do on the court. That is your job to criticize or to, be in a position where, okay, if a guy's not performing, that is all part of the game. That's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players.
Things that I haven't brought up. I never brought up really and never really discussed why you were not at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. That man put his hands on me, I would have immediately swung on him. Immediately.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like. We're going to be talking about this whole fiasco between LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith. Now, as some of you may know, LeBron James' son, Bronny James, entered into the NBA, and he hasn't been playing quite as well. Like, he's had some pretty decent games, but overall, his performance has kind of been lackluster, right? And so a lot of people have come out and said that he wasn't ready to be in the NBA, that he should have played in the G League. LeBron James hyped him up by saying he was already better than half of the players in the NBA before he even got there. So, and of course, you're going to gas your child up, right? Of course. So that's to be expected. But probably the harshest and loudest critic has been the NBA commentator analyst, apparently General Hospital daytime soap opera actor Stephen A. Smith. I had no idea. But Stephen A. Smith has been the loudest critic. And finally, LeBron James had just kind of gotten tired of it and approached Stephen A. Smith at one of the Lakers game. Middle of third quarter, it's timeout. He sees Stephen A. Smith, and right there at that moment, he's like, I'm going to go handle this right now. And LeBron James pretty much just told him to stop, crapping on my son. Like stop, Of course, the video went viral. I won't post it here, but you can definitely go check it out on other channels on YouTube or X or the Gram, Snap, whatever you want to do. It's circulating. So the video went viral. Now, Stephen A. has finally addressed it. So he didn't want to address it, but he finally addressed it. LeBron James has talked about it as well. He recently went on the Pat McAfee podcast and talked about the whole issue. And LeBron James is of the perspective like, of course, I'm going to protect my son. I'm going to protect my household. I'm going to, watch out and cover and care for my child. Like, it's not that you're critiquing him. That's your job as an analyst, as a commentator, to critique the players that are underperforming or overperforming or doing great, whatever. It's your job. But, excuse me, he's of the perspective that Stephen A. is going just a little bit too hard. And I can kind of attest to that. And some of that may be because Stephen A. doesn't particularly care for LeBron James, as is, Skip Bayless doesn't particularly care for LeBron James as well, for whatever the case may be. However, I do think that there needs to be some sort of line that needs to be drawn, some type of boundary to where you're not projecting your own feelings, your feelings about someone onto their child. The same thing that we see with Deion Sanders and his sons, Shiloh and Shador Sanders. Like, make sure that you're being, one, fair and honest in your critique, but also that you're not in some way thinking that you're critiquing or affecting me or trying to hurt me through my children, right? But on the flip side of the coin is you do have to be honest, and you really have to prepare not only yourself mentally, but your child for what's to come. If you are I'm not going to say self-proclaimed, but if you are, LeBron James is very well aware of who he is and what he means to the world of professional sports, right? He's up there with Tom Brady. He's up there with, what was his name? Aaron Rodriguez. He's up there with Michael Jordan. He's up there, he is up there amongst the greats. Michael Phelps, Serena Williams, like he's up there. So he's very well aware of who he is. I'm sure that he's very well aware of who is a fan, who supports him, who's, in his corner, who may be a bit biased towards him. And on the flip side, he knows those that, and I'm not talking about every, person on the planet. I'm just talking about in the media world and probably even in, amongst other NBA teams, other, agents, owners, like people, you kind of get a feel for who likes you, who's messing with you, and who doesn't like you, and who wants to stay as far away from you unless, money's involved, right? Because business is business and green is green. So, it all spins the same, right? So he's very well aware of who he is. Okay, that's starters. He's also very well aware of how hard the media can be, right? How, what's the word that I'm looking for? How critical, how unforgiving the league can be. And, adjacent to the league, it's entertainment. We're not watching, the NBA or the NFL or hockey or the baseball league. We're not watching these things for, educational reasons. It's entertainment. And media, sports media is adjacent to that. It's all a part of the entertainment industry. Are you not entertained? This is why people are watching. And so it's kind of, you put your child out there, just like Beyonce did with Blue Ivy. You prepare for them. They see you work, what you go through. I'm sure that Bronny James has been privy to some hard conversations in the house or in the car or, meetings. Like you go home and you try to shelter your kids as best as you can, but you also want to prepare them. I'm sure, Bronny James knows. Now, I don't know how, it seems like to me for LeBron James to go and confront Stephen A. Smith at a televised basketball game, that it must have been pretty severe. There really must have been an impact that Stephen A. Smith had on Bronny James. Bothered him in some type of way for him to just not call Stephen A. Even if he doesn't have his number, I'm sure he can call whoever he needs to call to get the phone number, right? So for him to confront him, again, in a nationally televised setting, to me either suggests that it was just, and it could have been spur of the moment. It could have just been something that's been on the back of his mind. It's like, you know what? He's here. I'm going to address it. Or it could have just been, I'm going to make sure when I see him, I'm going to address it. Like, I don't want to call him. I don't want to go sit down on a podcast. Because a lot of people were saying that, that he could have just went to Stephen A. Smith's podcast and talked to him specifically about it. Sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you don't want to sit with somebody. I get it. Sometimes you don't want to sit across from the person that you don't like, right? Like, this is not the Real Housewives or whatever. It's not basketball or whatever that is. Whatever that Basketball Wives show was. It's not that, right? More often than not, people don't want to be around people they don't like or don't particularly care for. I don't want to sit down with someone who I think is an enemy of mine, So I think that's possibly why LeBron addressed it the way he did. Now, moving forward to Stephen A. Smith. I do think that Stephen A. gets a rise out of getting, this sort of media attention, not only from, his viewers again, because he has his own podcast now and it's doing quite well. This brings viewership. This brings clicks, but I think he gets a rise out of it from LeBron. He's gone on. He was actually on First Take this morning and really just led into LeBron James. He brought up, which I thought was, he brought up Kobe Bryant, who, as we know, passed away, unfortunately, in 2020 due to a helicopter crash, and said incorrectly that LeBron James didn't attend Kobe Bryant's memorial, which he was there. And Stephen A. did, hour or so after he had made that statement on First Take, came out and said that he was incorrect and that LeBron was there. But that just goes to show the level of vitriol that you have for somebody, that sort of emotional intensity to where you don't even try to find the truth, or you physically being in attendance. I don't know that Stephen A. was there, but if he was indeed in attendance and just so happened to have not seen LeBron, I don't even think LeBron should have been on your mind at somebody's memorial service, I don't think you should be wondering who's here and who's not here. This is not the kind of who's who event. This is the passing away, honoring somebody's passing away. This is not the moment where you think who's here and who's not here and you're looking around. No. But that's the level of obsession, I would venture to say, that, excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather, obsession that Stephen A. has for LeBron James. And I do think that he's a bit harsher toward LeBron James because that's LeBron James' son. So any way I can attack him or get at him or, try to cut him off at the kneecaps, that's just what I'm going to do. And it's really unfortunate because, as Stephen A. puts it, he thinks that LeBron James is just mad because he doesn't kiss the LeBron James ring, and he doesn't kiss his ass. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's just, you want something with LeBron that you're not going to have. You want something with, you want this sort of acceptance that you're not going to have from league players. Most, I hate to say, I'm not going to say most, right? Because I haven't taken a poll. But there have been a lot of specifically NBA and NFL players that have voiced the fact that they don't like you, Stephen A. And why is that? So I think he wants to be a part of that club, and he's just not. Now, don't get me wrong. He's great at what he does as an analyst or commentator, host, whatever it is. His job title is, I don't know. I just know he's great at what he does. He does bring in the viewers to First Take. He covers stuff very well. This is what I'll say. He's very animated. He has voice for television, and he could do radio. He's just really awesome at his job. That's what he should do. Cover sporting events. He's really, really great at that. That kind of, I call it the barbershop talk. He's really, really great at that. And there's pretty much no one else like him in the game. There are other hosts, co-hosts that he has, but there really isn't another Steve. Nobody's filling that shoes. Nobody's taking that space. He's just awesome. He is the current GOAT. I don't like the term GOAT because I think everyone's is meaningful to the era that they're in. But there's no one touching him there. But I think he yearns for this acceptance, this camaraderie that he has never and will never have among professional athletes. And so this kind of it's like, if I can't, what's that African proverb that the child that can't feel the warmth of the house burns it down, or the warmth of the village burns it down, or something like that. Like, you just want to feel a part of something so bad. You want LeBron James' attention so bad. It's like, I'm gonna keep going and going and going and going until he says something. You remember, well, actually, he kind of made, I guess, something nice he said about LeBron James' wife. But that was to disparage Stephen Curry's wife for speaking out and say she should be more like Savannah James, to just kind of, show, be cute and be quiet and support your husband. Very misogynistic, right? I believe that was Stephen A. that said that. I'll have to double check. But long story made short, I think it's unfortunate that the two of these people that are at the top of their field publicly cannot respect each other enough to not engage in the foolishness. And again, I get it. It's all entertainment probably, right? Like I don't think, and definitely don't hope anything will come out of it. You know what I mean? No physical harm to anybody. But it's like enough is enough. You know what I mean? Like kind of enough is enough. Everyone just stays in their respective lanes, take your feelings out of it. And then especially bad, and this is probably going to sound sexist to me, I just kind of hate to see men being petty. Like you expect kind of this cat fight stuff with, women, it's almost expected women don't get along. But men are usually able to I'll make my point, you make your point. Okay, we don't agree. Cool. And move on. But this is getting sort of a little bit petty. And I would like to just see us kind of rise above the foolishness and, men be men. But anyway, thanks for watching.